You ever have one of those mornings where you just want a little peace, and instead you end up in a showdown you never asked for? 3 weeks ago, I was walking that old dirt path behind my house, rod in one hand, cooler in the other, picturing a quiet afternoon by the lake with maybe a couple of bluegill for dinner. Instead, I found a brand new iron gate welded right into the trail like someone dropped a prison fence in the middle of nowhere. Big bold sign. Private access, residents with HOA permit only. Permit. Like I was some stranger. I mean, I've lived here 5 years, my back fence is practically on the shore, my kid learned to skip stones right at that spot. Now apparently, I needed permission to use the water I could spit into from my porch. I said, probably louder than I meant, "What the hell is this?" And before the words died out, I heard her, Lorraine Matthews. If the word HOA president had a face, it'd be hers. Pastel cardigan, tennis shoes, her mutt squirming at the end of a leash, clipboard gripped like a badge. "That's HOA property now," she piped, that voice like a clarinet stuck on the wrong note. "Only authorized members can use the lake." I bit my tongue. "Lorraine, I live right there. You can see my mailbox from here." She didn't care. "Board voted to restrict lake access," she said, grinning like she'd just solved world hunger. "If you want in, submit a form and pay the $200 annual permit." Like she was offering a deal on a used car. I stared at her. This woman trying to charge me to use my own backyard. She just shrugged, flipped that clipboard and announced the lake was now HOA property. All perfectly legal because they'd negotiated a lease with old Mr. Callahan. "He's too old to deal with it anymore," she said. And just like that, turned and power walked away, her dog yapping like punctuation. That night, I drove straight to Callahan's place, my mind turning over what she'd said. "He's 92, half deaf, but sharper than anyone I know." "You didn't sell them the lake, did you?" I asked. "Nope. Just let him maintain it for a few hundred a year. Makes my life easier." I took a deep breath. "Would you sell it to me?" He blinked, peered out toward the water. "You love it that much?" I told him the truth. My son learned to swim there. I wasn't about to let Lorraine padlock our memories behind some HOA permit. Callahan just laughed. "All right, son. Let me get my paperwork." 2 days later, the deed was mine. Not just the water, either. The whole acre and a half around the lake. The trails, the trees, everything Lorraine claimed as hers. Callahan's lawyer worked quick, didn't need to drag out the process. I paid cash. Clean transfer, no drama. Monday morning, I staked a fresh sign behind their iron gate. Private property, no trespassing. I left their gate, left their silly sign, just made mine bigger, clearer, and backed by law. I filed a cease and desist against the HOA for trespassing on my land. 2 days after that, there's a knock at my door. Brandon Hayes, HOA treasurer, looking like he's been chewing lemons all morning, stands on my porch holding a manila folder like it's radioactive. "Can we talk?" he asks, not quite meeting my eye. I let him in, but didn't offer a seat. He launches into this spiel. "We'd like to resolve this amicably. There's been a misunderstanding. We thought the land was public." I cut him off. "You knew what you were doing. You just figured no one would challenge you." He tries to salvage it, offers a shared access agreement. The HOA pays a fee, keeps the place maintained, everyone's happy. I tell him no. He's rattled. "Then what do you want?" I pull out my own folder. "You want water from my lake for your sprinklers? You pay a lease, $2,000 a month for water rights, and not a drop for recreation." I tell him about the survey I'd already had done, proving their irrigation pulls right from my groundwater. He goes pale. I drop another bomb, and I've contacted environmental quality. Turns out your folks have been dumping unpermitted fertilizer runoff at the lake edge. State-level violation. I slide him my lease proposal. $2,000 a month, or your flowers dry up. He just stares. Lorraine isn't going to like this. Tell her to read the deed. I say. By the weekend, the walking trail lights sputter out, the flower beds wilt, the fountains cough to a stop. No water for anyone. They call an emergency board meeting. My neighbor Gloria calls me the next morning, whispering like she's in a spy movie. They're freaking out. Lorraine's red in the face, saying you're extorting them. Turns out, for years, they'd advertised lake access in every brochure and on every real estate listing, selling the dream on something they never actually owned. That got me thinking. I sent screenshots to the real estate licensing board. A few days later, I get a call from Nina, the investigator. If this is true, It's a serious violation, she says. I send her everything. Deed, correspondence, Callahan's original lease. Meanwhile, Lorraine doubles down, tapes bogus fines to my door. Unauthorized signage, community aesthetic violations. I take pictures, email them to my lawyer, a guy who still owed me from a wild college weekend. Let them keep it coming, he says. Every piece of paper helps us. Then, out of the blue, Jeremy, a former board member who'd moved away, emails me. Saw your name on the HOA Facebook. Got something you'll want to see. He sends a PDF, a memo outlining a plan for Lorraine and her cronies to buy up the land through a shell LLC tied to her husband's law firm, using $30,000 in special assessments they'd told residents was for clubhouse repairs. I send it to my lawyer and the county fraud office. Within a week, Lorraine's arrested for wire fraud and embezzlement. Her accounts frozen, board resigning one after another. A special vote dissolves the HOA entirely. The gate comes down. The trail opens, but only to those I grant permits. For fun, I put up a new sign. Private property. Former HOA board need not apply. For the first time in years, neighbors wave again, even bring over pie. People start breathing easier, no longer afraid of a fine for a dandelion or kids with sidewalk chalk. But Lorraine's mess lingers. The county uncovers fake invoices, kickbacks through her niece's landscaping company, funds funneled through her cousin's address. A forensic accountant gets assigned, and I end up meeting them at the diner down the road. You're the only clean title in this whole mess, they say, shaking their head. Brandon, the treasurer, sells his house in a hurry. I catch him packing one morning. You running from the smell, or just the fire? I ask. He swears he never knew about Lorraine's shell company. I just signed the checks. I remind him about the $30,000 assessment. He says Lorraine even showed him a contractor's quote. Funny how no contractor ever showed up, I say. He drives off without another word. The new neighbors are a retired firefighter and his wife, tough as nails. When I tell them the story, they just laugh. But then I get a letter from the state attorney. Lorraine's flipped, naming names all over the county. Agents, board members, even a zoning official who let her reroute a storm drain. It turns out, the corruption goes way beyond our little lake. The state asks me to testify. You're the catalyst, the assistant DA says. If you hadn't bought that land, this never unravels. I testify in a packed courthouse, stick to the facts, hand over every document, every memo. Jury doesn't buy Lorraine's bad accounting defense. She gets 6 years, no parole for 4. Her husband loses his law license. Her niece gets hit with conspiracy charges. The restitution, $120,000, none of it mine. Back home, things change. No more HOA, no more fear. Folks organize their own holiday lights, swap garden tips, keep a watch on each other's homes without needing a patrol. I keep the lake, put up a little dock, benches, open it on weekends by sign-up only. No fee. Families fish, teens play guitar, one couple even gets engaged out there. Only rule, respect the space. Never had to enforce it. 8 months after the trial, I get a letter from the state, not a bill, but a certificate, recognition for helping uncover the scam and restoring transparency. I hang it in the garage next to my fishing rods. One day, Gloria walks over with lemonade as I'm pouring concrete for a boathouse. You know, I used to think you were just the grumpy guy who yelled at squirrels. I grin. I am that guy. She sits, laughs, asks if I'll run for mayor. Not a chance, I tell her. Good. You'd hate the paperwork. We sit and watch the lake shimmer, sun catching the ripples just right. The gate's gone. The only thing guarding the water now is respect. Just when you think it's over, life throws another curveball. 2 months after the trial, I'm ankle deep in the lake, enjoying the quiet, when a man in a county windbreaker steps onto the dock. Detective Greaves, financial crimes, he says. We found some forged zoning permits tied to Lorraine's group, fake watershed approvals, illegal stormwater pits, even a non-existent contractor license. Turns out, the old HOA had been funneling storm runoff into the lake for years, poisoning the ecosystem to save on maintenance. The county brings in hazmat crews, digs up the illegal dump, finds herbicide waste buried uphill from the shore, stuff that could have made my kids sick. 3 more board members get indicted. Lorraine's sentence gets bumped by 4 years, and her landscaping company gets shut down for good. The county covers cleanup under a public restoration grant. When the lake finally reopens, the fish and turtles come back first, then the birds. It's cleaner than it's been in a decade. A while later, the county asked me to speak at a town hall in a neighborhood about to vote on forming their own HOA. Rooms packed, folks nervous. I tell them what happened, how a locked gate turned into a web of lies and criminal charges. And then I say the thing nobody wants to hear. HOAs don't start corrupt, they rot one quiet signature at a time. If I had to do it over, install cameras, read everything, and never let someone with a clipboard tell you what your home is worth. Afterward, people line up with questions: how to prove water rights, how to protect common land. I give them my playbook, warn them what to watch for. The county even forms a task force to audit HOAs. Asks me to consult. I pass. I've had enough of bureaucracy for a lifetime. Back in our neighborhood, life settles into a new groove. The community bulletin board fills up with potluck signups and dog walking schedules. No more warnings, no more threats. The lake stays private but open on weekends. Kids fish with their grandparents. Families picnic. One morning, I find a hand-carved plaque on my porch. Guardianship is earned. No note. I mounted to the dock that afternoon. You know, Lorraine tried to build a kingdom on lies. In the end, it all crumbled, and something better grew up in its place. Not just a neighborhood, but a community where respect is earned, not enforced. Where nobody can lock up the water just because they want to. That lake, my lake, now, was finally free because someone stood up and said, no, not this time. Not just once, but every single time it counted. And that's what I'd ask you. If it happened on your street, would you stand up or let the gate close for good? Comment below, does justice mean keeping the peace or fighting until the last fence comes down? I'm curious where you stand.